Hey all, welcome back to my channel. This is the Dr. Shabbat Show, and on this show, we talk about feminism, how feminism has destroyed society, as well as marriages, relationships, and dating, and also family. And we also talk about current events that are going on. It's kind of related to the effects of feminism. Today, I want to show you a video about the lies that Cosmopolitan told women. And I did have to cut some portions out of the video because some of the things they talk about could get my video flagged by YouTube, but I did put the entire video in the description box. So Sue Ellen Browder is a former writer at Cosmo, and she talks about the lies that Cosmo printed in their magazine and the propaganda that they started. Before we get started, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. Let's start it.
How do we get to the point where so many young women today think to be free is to go to college, get a great degree, have a fantastic job, and be as sexually free as possible? How did those get joined together? Well, that was the question that people began to ask me after I had left Cosmo, and I began to investigate it. You have to understand a bit about how propaganda works. Propaganda isn't just a bunch of lies. People think, oh, propaganda, I can spot it in a minute because it's just a bunch of lies. No, propaganda is a very sophisticated, it's half-truth, selected truth, and truth out of context. Is used not to sell just products, it's also used to sell ideas. The feminist movement and the sexual revolution were two radically different movements. The feminist movement was fighting for equal opportunity for women in education and the workforce. The sexual revolution was fighting for all sorts of sexual freedoms. Cosmo, we pretended that this sexual revolution was a freedom for women. It actually was not. It was actually kind of a slavery. But we pretended it was freedom for women. And over time, as the sexual revolution and the women's movement got identified closer and closer together, a lot of women began to buy into that illusion.
Did you hear what Sue said? She said that the feminism movement was strictly about making sure that women would get a job and equal pay and be able to open up a checking account and all that stuff. And then the sexual liberation, they combined it with the movement. They did that to sell more magazines because I don't know if you know, Cosmopolitan initially was a family magazine, but the sales were very low. And so the owner figured out a new way to attract more customers and made it based on women. And I'm sure back then they didn't think that it was going to be a big deal if we, pushed the agenda for sexual um, revolution. And but look at us in 2023. We have a large group of women who believe that showing their body, going out here having relations with a whole bunch of men is all about feminism and empowering women. And it has nothing to do with empowering women. And the only thing that you're really empowering is you're not going to have a great future. You won't be able to find a man who wants to marry you if you have a whole bunch of relationships with other men. And that is what the bottom line is. Let's continue.
I came out of J School, University of Missouri School of Journalism. I was trained very well to be a good reporter, and then I immediately fell from grace and started writing lies for Cosmopolitan magazine. I was fascinated with Cosmo, and I was fascinated with glamour and sophistication. And I always said I didn't want to be a big fish in a small pond. I wanted to be a small fish in a big pond. And Cosmo was, to me, was that big pond, and I was the little fish. Helen Gurley Brown was the editor of Cosmo. She's the one that took Cosmo and turned it from a general interest magazine into a sex rag.
It's a magazine to help this young woman realize dreams, hopes, ambitions, to help her find a man, keep a man, get him back if he's going, get a new one if he left.
Helen Gurley Brown had created a list of rules on how to write for Cosmo, and some of those rules included how to make up stories. So here's one of them. Unless you are a recognized authority on a subject, profound statements must be attributed to somebody appropriate, even if the writer has to invent the authority. Here's another one. Try to locate some of the buildings, restaurants, nightclubs, parks, streets, as well as entire case histories in cities other than New York, even if you deliberately have to plant them elsewhere. Most writers live in New York. 92% of our readers do not. They had a book. They would go in and have a meeting of all the editors once a week, and they'd all bring in ideas, and then they'd put them in the book. The freelance writers would come in and choose the stories that they wanted to do. These did not come out of reality. These came out of the heads of the editors who said, oh, that would be an interesting story. And that's how you got assignments.
Wow. So basically, the stories in Cosmo where they had these women having all these wonderful escapades and wonderful life, and they would go out and have relations with men, a man over here, a man over there, and at work, and it was all make believe. Women were reading these stories and they were like, oh my goodness, I want to be like them. I want to live this life. And no one ever told them that it was make believe. And that's why we have so many women who are living in chaos and dysfunction. It's so sad. I mean, there is a part of me that has empathy. And what's so interesting is that I wanted a Cosmopolitan magazine when I was like 16. And my parents were like, don't bring that filth in this house. You should have never picked that up. And I was like, what's the big deal? It's a magazine. But now I understand. I mean, I'm so grateful for my parents because I didn't grow up reading any of that stuff. Let's continue.
Why all of this hijacking of the women's movement? Money. Money. Why was Cosmo so successful? Because it attracted advertisers. Why did it attract advertisers? Because it worked. When a young woman, an insecure young woman, reads these magazines and thinks that she has to have perfume, cosmetics, hair products, beautiful clothes, singles travel. When she thinks she has to have all of these things, she's going to spend a lot of money. What these magazines are doing, and what now the internet and everywhere, turning a woman into a commodity. She's got this picture of herself on herself. It's all about me. If you can convince a woman that everything is about her, then she has to buy a whole bunch of stuff to make herself so wonderful. If inside she knows who she is, she doesn't need all that stuff. Now there's the other side of it. I say we're all liberated. Are we? So on one hand, yes, we can go to college, we can get a degree, we can be doctors, lawyers, engineers, we can do all this stuff, we can make all this money. But how liberated are we if our girls have got that in their pocket?
Did you hear what she said? Wow. She said if you make a woman believe it's all about her, she will buy anything. And that takes me back to my first point. It was all about the money, but they probably had no idea on what level this was going to grow. Or if they did, I don't know. But we know that women are the number one consumer of goods, beauty products, hair products, extension, nails, you name it, women will buy it. And another thing, most women who are single spend more money on themselves and products to make themselves be beautiful than a married woman. What this means to me is that the big businesses who put a lot of money into advertising knew what they were doing. And even in 2023, we are still feeling the effect of this fake propaganda that they put out. Women, especially single women, are the biggest consumer of clothing, makeup, all of that stuff. So if that was the intent, then that's what they got. However, they also destroyed families. They also destroyed, women having a chance of relationships with a quality good men because they went out there to thought it up, and most men don't want that. So man, there's so many things in this video, but I really would like you to watch the entire video. I do put that video in the description box. Please leave your comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. Until next time, this is Dr. Shabbat. Bye.